know, one of the biggest reasons I felt marijuana would be a really great thing to legalize: domestic violence statistics. Alcohol causes domestic violence and irately unforgivable arguments, shouting, yelling. I grew up in a home where I never even heard my dad yell. He called me a big mouth once because I was yapping in the back seat ongoingly. But the very few fights I actually heard my parents have, I never actually heard my father's voice. All I heard was my mom being like, "Well, Chase, and that happened a total of like 7 times my entire life. And they didn't really sound like heated arguments. I just noticed there was a variable of parental decision making that somehow my mother was variably frustrated and emotional about. Granted, at a very young age, when my father got home, and I was mind blown by my mom's unconscionable parental behavior, and validating me as being wrong irrationally in the context into which she was trying to vindicate my punishment. And I broke out real quick when my dad got in the door. I was like, "Mom, da 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 da." And then my mom was like, "Well, he did this." And I was like, "No, I did. Oh my God. Oh my God. Mom's lied. Mom's lying. Mom's lying." I couldn't believe one of my parents had lied. I was like, "That's my job. I'm a kid." I don't really think I lied very much. I just got dramatic. But my dad saw right away I was telling the truth. Mom was backing up a bullshit argument that I had derationalized her in. Came up with a lie so she didn't look bad to her husband. I'll never forget it, but I can't remember what the argument was over. Anyways, point of the recording is this. I'm so flustered and mind-fucked by the world, I have reverted back to watching Jerry Springer. Why? I don't know. Ultimately, what everyone from Jerry Springer needs to know is this. More likely than not, most of you, if you're on the Jerry Springer show, should sort of just give up and become swingers. There's a lot of internet online communities for this to take place. You just have to sort of die a little on the inside and give in to orgies. Or keep breaking each other's hearts for the rest of your life, whatever. But if infidelity or trust is an issue at the first year's stage into which you try to create a reality, you should probably just cash out. If it is in your second year, probably you should just cash out. If it is your third year, you might want to think about it a little stronger, because it's pretty hard to go 3 years without serious commitment or children in the picture, and deny how emotionally attached to each other you've become at that point. But if you really can't get past the past in a situation, you should cash out. If at any given point domestic violence is on the table, or significant mental abuse, whether that be erosively uncooperative rationale and irrational contexts into which you double talk yourself into being the right one, to the point into which you can't figure out how to consistently submit to each other instead of have a victor in an argument, you should probably cash out. But But if you have kids, you got married, you jumped into it, you made it work. Unless domestic violence is on the table, um, that's when you should start figuring out how to be strong enough to get past something like infidelity. In my opinion. But everything's relative. Ultimately, from the get-go, need a third party in this modern age to think about it, because back in the day, you had parents, you had family, you had priests, you had spiritual leaders who would look over a young person's relationship and interest to take in a sanctity unto which eventually would turn itself into a situation that you two could be trusted to treat each other right in the isolated privacy of your own home, and thus and then therefore make children and treat them right. So, marriage counselors, by 6 months, or not marriage counselors, relationship counselors, you don't want to bring marriage on the table with the guy. In 6 months, that might be a bad idea. But, I mean, anything, if you're serious, you should be getting into with the consciousness that this is going to be going somewhere which involves making a family. Or you really just being a jackass. I mean, you can hold off on kids, but you never want to hold off on being prepared to make them. Freedom is not being held down. Freedom is not having kids. From a younger person's standpoint. In my opinion. Ultimately, though, the second serious acknowledgments of labels rise above boyfriend, girlfriend, and the interest to upgrade ranks amongst each other in that variable parallel, I definitely suggest you start talking to a marriage counselor or a priest, as they used to call them. This modern age, the mixing up and the whatever, everything's wild, but you gotta think about that to bring an end to the Jerry Springer show. No offense, Jerry. It's just gone a little too far at this point.